kind of, if you could just kind of tell me your story a little bit, what was going on before, and then what happened.
I know about the storm. Okay, we stayed through the whole thing, and it wasn't bad up until about 10 o'clock in the morning was when the water started coming in. We could see it slowly rising up and all, and it was a matter of just trying to get everything in, trying to get out, everyone's safe. We have 3 little kids, and we're just trying to keep them nice, keep them calm, while we were trying to deal with everything going on. And my husband, he was in an accident back in July, so he really wasn't that able to do too much, and I've been injured before too, so trying to deal with everything is a little difficult, but thank God he's strong, and he was able to keep us safe and sound, and wound up getting everything. The water came up. We wound up being very fortunate. The doors blew in, but we were able to still hold them, kept the roof full, and everything basically stayed pretty calm until the water receded, and just looked around and our whole life was gone. We had 3 vehicles washed away. Basically, we're swimming underwater up to the rear view mirrors. We got about 5 feet of water in the garage. The house, we're up higher, so we only got about 2. And everything we owned was gone. Lost my job. He's been out on disability since, and just the whole life torn upside down. Everything in a blink of an eye is gone. Right now we're struggling to get everything back together. It's a slow process. We do a little bit, stop, do a little bit, stop, but we're getting there. Right now we're back into the house, but we're sleeping on the floors. Still have no lights in the kitchen. We got to put in our lights in the kitchen. We just put in our sink. We still have to put in the stove. So we're getting there. It's a slow process, but God willing, we'll be in there real close. So we're family safe, families together, and we'll be good. As long as we got our family, we're safe and we're good. One of the calls we could hear was, how much longer is the water going to rise? There's 6 adults and 7 kids, and we're going in the attic. And the dispatcher came back and said, you've got another 2 hours. And just hearing, how police officers are very strong, and to hear them saying that, and knowing that we're still going under it, we're fortunate. We're only at 2 feet of water, and they're already in their attic. They're fortunate that they lived because they were able to get someone to them. But how many other families didn't have that ability? My neighbor went up north to that area, and I was just scared to death that they were in there too. And it was very, very hard just hearing that on the radio, on the police scanner. Because you can't do anything with them. And that's the hardest part, is you're helpless. You're totally at the mercy. You're totally at mercy. You just try to get through. You just try.
The water in my house, and it destroyed everything. And I had so many church and nice people to come to redo my house, help me, because I didn't have flood insurance, and the insurance people saying it was due to the flood and the water, so they're not paying much. So I appreciate all the help that I've got from all the students and all the people and the church people, and I appreciate very much of all the help from everybody. It's been great that all of these people come down here and help us. We have really had some bad weather that destroyed everything down here a lot, people's homes.
What is it like when you hear the news reports of something like this coming, and you've lived here, and there's that you're being asked to evacuate? What's that like?
Well, we have a lot of these little storms, but they usually just come in for about an hour or 2 and they go on through, and they just don't do any damage, just a little wind and rain. But this one, it came and it stayed for about 8 to 12 hours, just kept turning right here on us and wouldn't move on. And that's what really did the damage here.
were you here during the storm?
No. Me and my husband left. They had told us to leave because it was going to be bad, and they didn't know how bad, But so we left the day before and went out in the country to my son and his family. All of us, my children, all of us went out there for the storm. And so we came back the next day. We couldn't drive in here with all the trees, everything down in the street, and so we had to walk from up there to down here, and it was just, I couldn't believe what I saw when I got here. It was just terrible. I couldn't imagine everything that I had had saved all my life was gone, and I just didn't know what to do. Until some of the church groups came in and said, we'll help you get your house back. And that's what's kept me going. I appreciate it a lot.
What was your initial reaction when you came back and saw what had happened?
Oh, I just started to just leave and walk out and don't come back, because everything I had all these years, all of the children's picture and all of everything was just gone, just ruined. And I just felt like just walking out and just leave everything. And some of my children said, no, we're gonna get help and we'll get you back in your house. So that is what they have done, and with all the help from all the churches and all the good people that has helped me. I couldn't have done it alone, because everything I had is just gone. Haven't saved anything. I'm sorry that every time I think about it and I break down, I just can't help it, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. Very understandable. What have you you mentioned earlier that your husband was handicapped to a degree, and just wondering how you actually started when you came back, before the group started coming in and all that. Like, what did you start with when you got back?
The first thing I decided would be the best thing to do is put a roof on the house. Like that, it would keep the water from coming in. Then we could start inside and tearing out the sheetrock and the ceilings where it was all wet. And we did that, and there was about a foot of mud in there that we just had to rake out, and got the hose and washed everything down after they got the sheetrock out. And then after we got it cleaned out some, we went in and with some Purex and water and disinfect all the 2x4s that was left in the house before we started putting up the sheetrock and the ceilings. It was a mess in there. It was just like if somebody got in there and was crazy and just went and tumbled up everything in the house. Everything was upside down, just floated everywhere. And the back wall, the sunroom back there was washed out, and I had some den furniture back there, and it washed out, went out the back of the house, and just everything just was a mess.
Is there anything else you would like to add or say or talk about?
Well, I just can't say enough for all the help that I have gotten through all the churches and all the kids come from college and all the people that did help. It's just been great for me. I can look like I can carry on now and get my house back in order with all the help that I've had. And I appreciate it, and just God bless them all and take care of them. Because they have done some good work for me and some of the other people's too. So God bless y'all.
You want to just tell me a little bit about what happened during the storm?
Well, we had a meeting, and my son, Wrinkles, my dog, and my wife decided she would evacuate with Virginia across the street, and I thought that this was going to be like all the other storms we had. Maybe if we got water, it would only be a foot or so in the house, and I could save some of my furniture. And it didn't work out that way. After the storm got here and the water started coming in the house, and it got over our heads, we were standing on a table in the dining area of the house, and we had to make a decision whether to go in the attic or swim over to a neighbor's house next door. So the water had already come over the eaves of the house, and we couldn't get air in the attic, so we decided we had to swim. And so we had one life jacket. We put the life jacket on Wrinkles, and my son and I started swimming across to the house next door, and, which I thought would take forever to get there. And finally we made it, and when we made it, it's a garage apartment, and we figured that we'd be high and dry from the storm surge, and there was a foot and a half of water in his apartment. So we stayed there for the next 36 hours. The water receded, and then we got out and assessed our damage, and everything that we had in my house, furniture and so forth, was gone. Most of it floated out through the doors and off the patio. We lost the patio, we lost my work shed, we lost all clothing that we had, all furniture that we had, all personal articles that we had, including pictures, deeds, wills, driver's license, identification. We lost everything. So a friend of mine offered us a truck, and we drove, it gave me $100 that I borrowed from him for gas, and we drove his truck to Atlanta, where my granddaughter lives, and we stayed there for a month. And we returned back down here and started trying to rebuild our life again and get our house ready for occupancy. That's about as it is now. We are really in need of the help that the church has given us. The Baptist Men's Association have just been nothing less than spectacular. They've helped every person on this coast. The young people have come down, given up their spring break, come down to help us. And for that, I'll never forget. Excuse me, I apologize, but I'm just overwhelmed. Thank you.
Just really kind of interested in your story, you know, what happened, you know, what it was like before, during, after.
Okay. Well, I've lived at this place for over 40 years, and this is home for my grandchildren. But on the eve of Katrina, my brother and his wife called me to go to the country and stay with them through the storm. And I had my daughter and her family here with me. She was taking care of me because I'd been in the hospital. And we went out to my brother's house and stayed there, and the wind was terrible. The storm lasted all day long. The wind blowing, and the fireplace chimney come off of the house. My son-in-law, he went and picked up the chimney out of by the pond, and we witnessed one of the buildings 20 miles out where I was staying with my brother, that it went up in the air. It was like a tornado had picked it up and sailed it about 300 yards from the building, and it went north. And then another piece of the building flew up and it went south and went in the pond. And after the storm, we stayed there. It was hot. We had the 2 little ones with us, 5 and 6-year-olds, and they really enjoyed the country. But whenever we come to the house then, the day after the storm, we found the furniture had been floating all over through the house, and everything, and it was about 3 to 4 feet of water had come in the house. And all of the furniture and everything was gone, was wet, molded, and did bad. And I've been struggling trying to get it put back together and get it clean, get back home to where we can live here. But there's so much destruction here, it was just unbelievable. A lot of the neighbors are gone. There's some building back, but we don't know how the storms are going to be coming in from here on. But Katrina was much worse than Camille, because I lived here in Camille, and I didn't have water in my house. And I only live about a block and a half from the beach, and we've always loved it with the family and all here. So we're going to be